For most of us, a walk in the park is just a walk in the park. But for some people, it can be a life or death gamble. Today, we're going to talk about a really serious allergy and a brilliantly simple invention that's making life a whole lot safer for thousands. So let's meet the villain of our story, the yellow-legged Asian hornet, Vespa velutina. This thing is an invasive species and it's spreading like wildfire across Europe. And believe me, it's not just a problem for honeybees, it's a real danger to people, too. And when I say danger, I mean real danger. We're talking about something called Hymenoptera venom allergy. That's a fancy way of saying an allergy to stings from things like bees, wasps, and yep, these hornets. For some folks, a single sting can trigger a massive, life-threatening reaction called anaphylaxis. It's a full-blown medical emergency where every single second counts. Okay, so the good news is there is a life-saving treatment for this. It's called Venom Immunotherapy, or VIT for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a vaccine, but for allergies. Over time, a doctor gives you tiny, controlled doses of venom, and it basically trains your immune system to chill out, not to overreact. It's an incredible therapy that can totally give people their lives back. But that brings up a really big question, right? You go through this treatment for months, maybe even years. How do you know if it's actually working? How can you and your doctor be 100% sure that you're protected? I mean, you definitely don't want to find out the hard way. Well, to figure that out, we have to look at the way it's traditionally been done. It's considered the gold standard, but man, it comes with a ton of problems. It's called the Sting Challenge Test, or SCT. And yeah, it is exactly what it sounds like. You're in a hospital, all hooked up to monitors, and a doctor takes a live insect and intentionally has it sting you. I know, it sounds wild, but it's really the only way to perfectly mimic what would happen out in the real world and know for sure if you're protected. But the old way of doing this test is, well, it's pretty brutal, to be honest. The doctor has to knock out the insect with anesthesia, literally pull off its wings and legs, and then try to handle this tiny thing with forceps to get it to sting the patient. It's not just super difficult and needs a specialist, it's also really unreliable. You could damage the stinger, lose some venom, the whole thing could be a bust. Plus, it's obviously not great for the insect, and because of all this super important test just isn't done as often as it should be. But what if there was a better way? A device that could solve all of these problems in one go. This is where the hero of our story makes its entrance. So the big challenge has always been this. How do you take this test that you need to do and make it totally safe for the patient, super simple for any doctor, and, a lot more ethical for the insect involved? And the answer is this brilliantly simple 3D printed device called the StingReady. It is an all-in-one tool designed to transform the Sting Challenge from this complex, risky procedure into something safe, reliable, and standardized. And what's so cool about it is its beautiful simplicity. Seriously, look at this. The StingReady is basically just two parts. You've got this see-through chamber with a mesh screen on one end, and then this plunger thing that slides inside. That is it. No crazy mechanics, no complicated parts, just really, really smart design. And that simple design is what makes it so powerful. Think about it. This one little device does everything. It captures the insect, transports it, and then helps apply the sting, all in one go. The insect isn't harmed at all. No anesthesia, no pulling off legs. The doctor can see exactly what's going on through the clear body. You can even swap out the mesh for different size bugs. The bottom line is, it just minimizes the risk for everyone, patient, doctor, and even the insect. So, that's the theory. But how does this thing actually work out in the real world? Let's follow a hornet on its journey, all the way from a park in Spain to a hospital room, and see this device in action. The whole process breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, you've got the capture out in the field, then secure transport, and finally, the actual clinical test. And the amazing part is, you use the same device for all 3. Okay, so our story starts here, in Belvís Park in Santiago de Compostela, Spain. Researchers set up these little bait stations, with sugary stuff and honey to attract the hornets. And here you can see one, a Vespa velutina, taking the bait. Now, while the hornet is busy feeding, a researcher comes in with just the outer chamber of the StingReady. They carefully place it right over the top. The hornet doesn't even panic. It just crawls up towards the light at the mesh end. And then, step 2, the plunger part is just gently slid into the back of the chamber. Boom. The hornet is safely and securely trapped inside. No stress, no harm done. And just like that, it's done. The hornet is safe, it's healthy, and it's ready to go straight to the hospital. Because it's an all-in-one system, there's no dangerous transfer from one container to another. It's just ready. So for the first ever clinical trial using the StingReady with this specific Hornet, they recruited 9 patients. These are 9 real people with severe allergies who desperately needed to know if all that immunotherapy they'd gone through had actually worked. And the results? Wow. The results really tell the whole story. 8 out of the 9 patients had 0 systemic reaction, nothing. It meant their treatment worked, and you can just imagine the peace of mind that gave them. But, and this is so important, look at patient number 4. They did have a reaction. Now, that's not a failure of the test. That's actually a huge success because the test was done in a totally safe and controlled way. The doctors learned that this person's treatment wasn't quite complete. They were able to adjust it, adding the right venom to their regimen. The test gave them the exact information they needed to make that person's life safer. It worked perfectly. So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for the future? The StingReady isn't just some neat little gadget. It really feels like a major shift in how we think about allergy testing. I think the researchers who invented it put it best. They called it a safer, more efficient, and standardized approach that could become a valuable tool in clinical practice. Basically, it takes all the guesswork and the danger out of a really critical medical test. So why is this such a big deal? Well, for starters, a device like this makes the gold standard test available to pretty much any allergist, not just a few specialists. It makes things so much safer for patients and gives them incredible peace of mind. It's also a way more humane and ethical way to use insects in medicine. And at the end of the day, all of that leads to better, more fine-tuned, more accurate allergy treatments. And that really leaves you with one final thought, doesn't it? This was a complex, high-stakes medical problem, and it wasn't solved with some giant, multi-million-dollar machine. It was solved with 2 simple pieces of 3D printed plastic and a really, really clever idea. It just makes you wonder, what other huge medical challenges are out there just waiting for a solution that's this simple and this elegant?